get sucked just a little bit less than the Glock 34 today.
Boy Scouts
Glock 34, baby. Glock 34, gonna shoot some bowling pins.
There you go.
They're built for two different things in mind also. So I think it comes down to overall, what do you want to do with it? Hello my YouTube friends, Late Boy Scout here, and if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you recognize this gun. It's the Glock 34. You also know that I'm about to say goodbye to this gun. But before I do that, I need to lay down a nice, proper tabletop review for it, and that's why we're here today. What you probably also know, if you've been watching my channel, is that this gun recently sort of lost a little personal contest that I had between this and the Glock 19 right here. Now, that personal contest, as I say, was a personal contest to decide which of those two guns I shoot better with and which of those two guns fill the role that I needed filled best. I won't go into all of that. Suffice it to say, I shoot the Glock 19 as well, and in some cases better than the 34. Also, the 19 is more concealable, and that's pretty important to me. Also, I don't want to collect guns so much as I want to fill up certain roles. And the 19, right here, fills more roles than the 34 does for me. And overlaps enough of these roles that this kind of takes this one's place. Hope that makes sense. For more of those details, see some of the links in annotation right now. I encourage you to watch those videos and really see the comparison that I did between the two guns. I think I gave them each a fair shake. Moving on, let's talk about the Glock 34. Chambered in 9x19 and with a capacity of 17 plus 1, uses the exact same magazine as the Glock 17. It does have the Glock proprietary safe action system with that trigger being a nice sort of, what would you call it? It's a Glock trigger. That's what it is. I'm not going to try to define it as anything else. You all probably know how it is. If you're looking at this video, you've probably handled a Glock before, and you know what you're in for with that trigger. It's about 4.5 pounds. I think that's about right, or is it 5.5? Whatever the case, it's manageable, and you can be quite accurate with it given practice. The barrel measures about 5.32 inches. A very nice length for some of the advantages that I will talk about here in a few minutes. The weight of this gun with an empty magazine is about 27.27 ounces, and it's a manageable weight for the role that I think this gun fills. Again, I'll talk about that here in a second. It features the Glock extended slide release right here, which was actually introduced on this gun, the Glock 34, and is now available to put on pretty much any Glock you want to put it on. Very cool. It's very nice. Honestly, I think that any of the other slide releases work fine as long as you, give it a little force and actuate it the way you ought to. But it does feel kind of nice to have that sticking out just a little bit more and not to the point that it's actually protruding or interfering with anything. I like that slide release. Very nice. This particular third generation Glock is wearing True Glow tritium fiber optic sights. They are very nice. They shine bright in the daylight and they shine bright at night because they are a combination of fiber optics and tritium. Very nice sights. I recommend you check them out and maybe pick up a pair and slap them on your Glock. Also, of course, you see some grip tape around the handle here, put on there by the previous owner. It hasn't bothered me a bit. I rather like it actually. It gives me a nice purchase and a nice grip on that gun, whether I'm grabbing it barehanded or with gloves. It actually feels pretty nice, and I honestly don't see any reason to let it go. The Glock 34 was introduced in 1998 to replace the Glock 17L, which was the long slide competition model of the Glock 17. That was a little bit longer than this one, probably about that much longer. This, again, is about a 5.32 inch barrel, and the 17L, if I'm not mistaken, was a 6-inch barrel. Okay, a little bit longer. Now, the Glock 17L with its 6-inch barrel was actually too long for certain competitive shooting organizations, but the Glock 34 with its 5.32-inch barrel found sort of a sweet spot with competitive shooters who wanted something longer than that 17, but not too long to be allowed. The 34 has subsequently become popular with certain LE departments, that's law enforcement, and SWAT teams, as well as many civilians. Thus has been labeled the practical tactical Glock. Practical because, a lot of citizens practice with it, and tactical because a lot of law enforcement uses tactics with it. It's become popular for a few reasons. The longer sight radius increases accuracy for a lot of shooters. You can get better accuracy at longer distance. The longer slide also gives you better balance and reduced muzzle flip. You've got a little more weight out there, keeping it from rising up so much. Gives you quicker follow-up shots too. That longer barrel also increases muzzle velocity, turning standard 9mm into something more like 9mm plus P. These are all advantages as long as you don't intend to conceal this big old gun. Rather than try to give you the dimensions of this gun, let's just compare it to a few. You saw the Glock 19 a moment ago. You saw that was safety checked. Here's a Glock 27, also the exact same size as the Glock 26. And there's a little size comparison for you. So depending on what you want size-wise, there's a 34, definitely on the longer, larger end, more full-sized, having that same full-size frame as the Glock 17, the compact being the Glock 19, and the subcompact being the 26, or in this case the 27. Let me show you real quickly how the Glock 34 integrates with the Streamlight TLR 1S, a lighting system that you might want to slap on your Glock someday. As you can see, it's actually recessed from the muzzle, meaning some of that fouling won't end up all over your light, and it also won't be protruding, possibly creating some sort of interference. So I actually really like the way that a light like this one integrates with the Glock 34. I think it creates a very nice package, and honestly, these two things just go together really, really well. Compare that briefly with the Glock 19. You can see that it's still going to work, but that's protruding out there quite a bit. So it feels a little more clumsy, a little less perfectly paired. In my experience, the Glock 34 is comfortable and fun to shoot. I've really enjoyed having it. 9mm is the least expensive and easiest to find of the full-powered handgun rounds. It's also the lowest powered of the stronger rounds, but the smaller bullet diameter means higher capacity. And with plus P loads like these, I think you're pretty well equipped. Again, 17 rounds, plus 1 in the chamber. If you know how to take advantage of the longer sight radius in order to get increased accuracy, I think the Glock 34 is an awesome choice for competitive shooting. I think it's a good sidearm option for a dedicated civilian WROL rig, or also for law enforcement duty use, or military use. If the option to conceal, however, is really important to you, I don't feel like the Glock 34 is a good choice at all. You're better off with a Glock 19 or a Glock 26. The Glock 19 is concealable, but it also shoots very much like a full-size, at least in my hands. Whereas the Glock 26, or in this case the 27, still shoots well, but it conceals better. For competitive use and or tactical use, I think the Glock 34 can and will excel. However, those are some pretty specific roles, and I really don't feel like this gun fits very well into any other roles. Those are my opinions, and that's my review of the Glock 34. Thanks everyone so much for watching. I'm the Late Boy Scout. We'll see you later.